is Angie Vishianen, and I am the founder of Leg Up Legal. We provide a mentoring program that connects prospective law students to lawyers for mentoring so that they can learn a little bit more about the legal profession before they decide to pursue law school. And we've been doing these Zoom meetups since the beginning of COVID-19 to connect lawyers, pre-law students, current law students, and everyone in the legal industry so that they can learn a little bit more about the legal profession and aspects of the profession that affect us even if we don't realize it. So one of those aspects is mental health. I think that, everyone knows that the legal profession is a very stressful one. And unfortunately, many lawyers don't know how good strategies to deal with stress. And so we wanted to provide you some tips and tricks and information today about Reiki and a couple of other topics that Sue Ellen wants to talk about. So Sue Ellen, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I developed my interest in mental health, oh my goodness, probably when I was in high school, but I actually did not become a mental health counselor until oh my goodness, it was after that. 2004 was when I graduated with my master's in counseling, and I got my license to practice mental health counseling in 2007. So I got to mental health partially because of my interest in it, partially because of my experience as a lawyer. I guess, those of you who are thinking about law school and becoming lawyers might like to know just a tiny bit about how I got into the law and how I got out of the law and made the transition to mental health. So I'll just spend a couple of minutes talking about that. So I got into law because number one, a friend signed me up for the LSAT without my knowledge or consent, and
what a terrible friend.
Yeah. Number two, because I had kind of gotten into a dead-end job with an insurance company in the claim department. And I had taken that job because I was a music major and couldn't find a full-time job with a master's degree in music. So I was doing 3 part-time music gigs, took the job in the insurance industry to pay the bills. In the process of that, I ended up as a senior claim representative, working up files for the legal department after claims had been denied and people wanted to dispute that. I thought that looked really easy. So I decided that I might be interested in pursuing a career in law. And simultaneously, my friend had signed me up for the LSAT, and I took it, and I ended up at Florida State University, where I was on the moot court team, and I graduated from law school, failed the bar by 1 point the first time around, started thinking about, okay, how can I channel my energy and reduce my stress a little bit so that I can focus more? And so 6 months later, I took the bar exam again, having taken a bar review course, which was very helpful, and also having studied, which was really helpful as well. I ended up practicing law full-time for 10 years, 3.5 at the public defender's office. 2 of those years I spent representing people in Baker Act hearings. For those not in Florida, the Baker Act is the procedure by which people are committed involuntarily for mental health treatment, either by the police or by their family members or their medical professionals. So I represented those folks in Baker Act hearings without having any real knowledge of the mental health profession. The only helpful advice I was able to offer was, simply don't tell the judge that you are being programmed by the Kennedys, because the judge is probably not going to allow you to go home. So that may or may not have been very helpful. In any event, after the public defender's office, I ended up in a small boutique civil practice firm. Then I went out on my own where I did general practice, estate planning, family law, arts law. So I was able to get back into my first love, which was music, by getting involved in starting what is now Orlando's professional orchestra, which is the Orlando Philharmonic. Um, in the process of being a lawyer, I realized that I really, really was not equipped by law school or by law practice to be able to handle my stress. Okay. I did not have good boundaries with clients. I was operating in a largely adversarial system at the time. I was being told by a lot of my peers, uh, don't settle too many cases because you're going to get a reputation. So the thing at that point was, and this was in the early 90s. You know, you've got to fight. You've got to be a fighter. You got to get down and dirty. The system is about polarities. It's about who wins and who loses. And clients want you to fight for them. They want someone to get out there and, you know, point the sword at the other party on their own behalf. And this is really not something that I was equipped to do. You
So,
know.
Ellen, I was just talking to a young associate that I know about this because he was saying that he doesn't like the adversarial nature of his job. And I was so surprised because I said, I think most people, as they get into law school, they know that that's kind of an inherent part of their job if they're going to do litigation and
Mm-hmm.
signed up for litigation. And yet he said that the thing that he hates the most is the adversarial nature. So I think you're totally right that a lot of us aren't really prepared for that because it's hard when somebody, when you're in an adversarial proceeding, you're going to be representing one client, and the other side, their job is to look and scrutinize every
Mm-hmm.
single thing you do to
Sure.
make sure that you're walking the right line, that you're not messing up, that you're not. And if you do mess up, their job is to capitalize on it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so that can
Exactly.
be really stressful, right?
Yeah. So I'm really happy to learn that, and to be working with actually clients who are lawyers who are talking more about the fact that law is becoming more collaborative, and we're looking for solution focused remedies, which is really, really wonderful. So this is what brings me around to the importance of balancing your energy when you're practicing law. We have to be able to contain the stress by moving it away from us, by creating kind of a zone of protection around ourselves so that we don't let the client's stress permeate us and compromise our effectiveness as advocates. And in addition, I think just having a viewpoint, and Reiki really is about an outlook on life as much as it is about a set of techniques. It's about embracing a view of life that is nonviolent, is not about worry, anger, anxiety, or stress. And when you're able to incorporate that, you're able to really own your personal energy a lot more effectively and be a better advocate for your client. You don't learn in law school how to hold your client's negative energy away from you. Um, in law practice, I constantly felt permeated by the negative energy that my clients were projecting because they were in pain. And, because I had not learned how to not take that on, I was constantly permeated by a sense of just unbelievable stress. And so it was a long process for me to get into counseling school. And I started developing an interest simultaneously in ways other than talk therapy to deal with emotional imbalances and it was really then that I started looking at meditation. I started looking at research that was coming out about um, really the disconnect that developed over the centuries in Western medicine between the body and the brain, and how we really are all one. It's one body mind, and I think of it as one body mind spirit. Uh, However you conceptualize it, is totally up to you. But I have never seen a disembodied head walking down the street. I mean, when you talk about it's all in your head, no, it's not in your head. The stress that we feel emotionally is transmitted to our bodies, and results in what we call stuck energy. And this is what energy medicine is about. So, I experienced Reiki first personally during a massage session. A lot of licensed massage therapists are also Reiki practitioners, because Reiki involves touch. Okay. As a lawyer, your license doesn't permit you to do handwork on a client. Even as a mental health counselor, my license does not allow me to actually touch a client. So even when I had clients in the office and, wanted to shake hands with them, or, ask them if they want a hug, have to ask permission for that. So there are not a whole lot of mental health counselors who are also Reiki practitioners, but I find that it's a wonderful balance
And for people who
for
aren't familiar with
talk
it,
therapy.
could you explain exactly what Reiki is?
I absolutely will.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to next. Reiki is a discipline um, in the energy healing realm that deals with the transmission of what they call the universal life force through a vessel, which is the practitioner, onto the recipient who desires the healing. Okay. And there's a process by which people become certified to do Reiki. The first degree is you can uh, you can learn to do Reiki on yourself, balancing your own energy through touch. Um, you can do Reiki on your pets that way. The second degree is transmitting healing through distance, and the third degree is teaching the discipline. So, quick story: energy healing. You know, all indigenous practices that I'm aware of have some form of energy healing. You know, before surgery, before medications that were created in the lab, we had healing rituals, spells, incantations, natural remedies, laying on of hands. I think if you look in the history of just about any major religion or healing discipline, you have a reference to healing by laying on of the hands. Um, this particular um, practice is said to have originated in Tibet, which is, of course, Tibet and India, where Buddhism began. The Buddha is said to have lived around 2500 BC. Um, the practice of Reiki is, as I said, told to have originated in Tibet. It was transmitted in both directions, eventually arriving in China, Japan. Of course, it had already gone to India. The specific name Reiki um, means universal energy, sometimes referred to as God energy. Okay. If that turns some people off, that's perfectly okay. You can say divine energy, universal energy, spirit energy, whatever. Um, the discipline of Reiki was begun by Mr. Usui, who was actually a Christian minister who was interested in finding out how Jesus healed. Okay, so he studied and practiced, and there's some apocryphal stories about how he went up on a mountain and fasted and studied and prayed for 21 days, and he acquired the ability to transmit this energy through his hands. Okay, so my first experience with Reiki was in a massage session where a practitioner essentially went over my body with her hands, and that included all the way down my legs and the soles of my feet. That's kind of interesting because, one thing you may not see about me is the fact that I use a wheelchair for mobility. I have a birth defect called spina bifida, and I am essentially paralyzed from the just below the thighs down. Um, I'm not supposed to be able to feel anything in my feet. So the fact that this practitioner was able to transmit energy through the soles of my feet that went all the way up my body to the top of my head um, really kind of grabbed me. It was really an interesting experience, and so that following year I started learning it. Took me 14 years just because I was going in a lot of different directions. But I finally got my Reiki Master certification in January of this year. Okay, so what is Reiki? The best way I can get you into the spirit of what Reiki is I'd like you, with your permission, and you don't have to do this, you can just sit here and look at me if you want to for a minute. But what I would really be interested in doing right now with you is just having all of us sit quietly for 1 minute, okay? And slow down your breathing and just see what you can notice in the stillness and in the silence that might be going on with your body. I don't know what you're going to notice, but I would just be interested in finding out. So I'm going to be quiet for a whole minute and just let us breathe and explore.
Got some people chiming in on the chat box here.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. I don't know why it seemed. Okay. Someone said um, neck tension, my general posture, some pressure between body parts, my feet pushing on the cushion, my heartbeat. Okay. Um, relaxation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And Felix, can you say more about relaxation? Can you speak to any sensations that you might have noticed?
Sue
So,
Ellen, may I share?
hey,
Hi, my name is Tyler Williams. I
hi.
was noticing, both with the inhale and exhales. It may sound basic, but just a feeling of energy just transferring in as I would inhale, and I could release it and let it out as I was exhaling.
Okay. Okay. Very, very interesting. It sounds like you are a good potential conduit for Reiki healing. Just it's very interesting that when we're silent, sometimes we can really notice a whole lot going on. We think nothing is happening, but there's a lot happening. So thanks for that. I really, really appreciate that, and the fact that you were willing to share. Um, okay. So, anybody else want to share anything that they noticed? So this noticing energy is the first step in being able to practice Reiki. Um, the first thing that I did as a trainee in Reiki was simply we placed our hands about an inch above a subject's body and just ran over the body to see whether we could detect any subtle energy shifts. And to be quite honest with you, I was not very good at it. Um, I'm much better at practicing on my own, and I'm pretty good at sending distance Reiki as well. But the part of this that you're going to be interested in is working with yourself. I can't, in an hour, there was no way I could teach you even first degree Reiki. I can only really give you some pointers to be able to go on to further exploration. But I'd like to just try one more thing with you, if with your permission. I'd like us to rub our hands together. Okay. Now, bring your hands slowly apart, cupping them. If you notice anything happening between the palms of your hands, that's energy. Okay. And now let's place our hands over our hearts. And just see if you feel anything. I heard somebody ding. Does anybody want to share? Okay. Okay. So the practice of Reiki on an individual basis is simply taking some quiet time for yourself and sitting just with yourself in a quiet space so you won't be disturbed, and simply tuning in to the energy of your body. It's not something people do on a regular basis. Okay. Most of the time, we can just ignore whatever is happening in the rest of the body because we're so busy thinking. Uh, we're constantly thinking, usually about the future or about the past. Tuning into your body is about tuning into the present. Second thing is just noticing any areas of the body that are in any sort of distress, aches, pains, itches, um, any other kind of discomfort, and focusing your energy on that particular part of the body and sending an intention to heal that part of the body. If you feel like laying your hands on that part of your body, go right ahead and do that. There's no wrong way to transmit Reiki energy. You don't even have to believe that you're transmitting any divine energy. You simply have to have an intention for your body to be well. Okay? And that is really what it is. You can send energy to your body through your thoughts. You can use your hands and place your hands on a part of your body. You can imagine a healing ray of light going from your heart. You can envision it any color you want to. Traditionally, Reiki energy from the heart is white. Doesn't matter. I tell my clients whatever color is soothing to you, imagine that going to that particular part of your body, or even just doing a body sweep, starting at the top of your head, going to the soles of your feet, and just noticing in succession what's going on with each part of your body. And at the end, you can just sweep back up. Okay. The idea behind this is just to help create balance. Okay. We need quiet time. We need balance. We need something that is going to bring down our stress levels and enable us to function as efficiently as possible as people, not just as litigators, if that's what your aim is, but just as people. So it's really simple. It's really quite simple. Um, the only thing that really needs to happen is I don't even think you need to be willing in the beginning for this to be helpful. I think the only thing we really need is curiosity. My personal philosophy is just to approach everything in life with an air of curiosity, and and just being willing to see what happens. I can tell you that, I have experienced much more of a sense of total wellness since beginning my energy practices. I do Reiki, I do something called the emotional freedom technique, which was developed by Gary Craig in the late 20th century. He's actually an engineer. An engineer turned mental health person who was looking for the best way to deal with stress. And he looked at all the indigenous forms of healing and all the forms of healing throughout the world that he could find. And he devised this technique that involves tapping on acupressure points in the body. If you don't know what acupressure is, um, has anybody ever had acupuncture? Felix? Hi. And I don't know your name.
Aisha?
Aisha. Okay. Okay. So you've had acupuncture?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what did you notice about it?
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Okay. Okay. You think it was helpful in balancing your energy?
Uh, I mean, it provided relief for the pain I was having.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good, good. Okay. So what I would advise you to do is just to if you're at all interested in Reiki, to just practice sitting with yourself for about 5 minutes a day. That's really all it takes. And just noticing what's going on with your body, and just applying the energy. Send it whatever way is the most logical for you, and just see what happens. I started out doing mindfulness meditation, which simply is awareness of the breath, for about 15 minutes a day. I've been doing that for about 15 years. And just a wonderful way to instill calm. Also brought down my blood pressure by 70 points within 15 minutes at a doctor's office one time. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Essentially, there's not a whole lot specific that I can tell you about doing Reiki, because it really is that simple. It is transmission of universal energy through the hands of a willing practitioner to a willing recipient. If you're a willing practitioner and a willing recipient, you can do it. Reiki is really so much more, though, than just touch. There are 4 aspects to the practice of Reiki, and if you're interested, I can provide you with some additional information about how to get more information. But the first aspect is the healing practice that we've been talking about. The second aspect is personal development. Okay. Focusing on the way I have been versus the way that serves my whole personal and spiritual development. Again, spirituality being very personal. I'm not here to push a particular orientation to spirituality or to religion on you. I personally am a-religious. I don't belong to any particular faith discipline. I'm just simply open to having questions and to exploring the answers. Part of the personal development is also about finding your meaning and purpose in life. So this is very important as a lawyer. It's very important for anybody to find your meaning and purpose in life. I mean, what brings you joy? What makes you feel as though you're a contributing member of society? What makes you feel as though you are being useful? Again, it's a very personal thing, but this is part of the Reiki discipline. The next part is spiritual discipline. What does my connection with spirituality, the divine, the transcendent, whatever you want to call it. If you believe in anything that's greater than you, that's spirituality to me. Even if you just believe something like karma, what goes around comes around. Well, that's the golden rule. That's treating other people the way you want to be treated. This is important in the development of people as people, in the development of people as lawyers, because it's going to inform the way you conduct your practice. And there's also an aspect of Reiki that is the mystic order, which that sounds pretty, woo-woo, but what they're talking about is the interconnectedness of all beings. Okay. And even in law practice, when you're engaged in the adversarial system, it's very, very helpful to remember the interconnectedness of all the parties involved in a particular case or litigation. You've got people who are in pain who want a resolution. You've got people who are searching for the truth. You have people who want a resolution to a problem. Okay. Have you been in pain? Have you ever searched for the truth? Have you ever tried to find an answer to a problem? Have you ever tried to find the best way to come up with a solution that's practical to something that has been eluding you? Okay, these are all universals. People do these things. People think these things. And so part of the Reiki practice is remembering the interconnectedness of all people. And even if you're on the opposite side of a litigation, um, even when it's getting really adversarial, what you can do is quiet yourself calmly, take a moment to just reorient yourself, and send some healing energy from your heart to the opposite, to the opposing counsel. You know, simply say to yourself, and send the message to opposing counsel or the opposing party or the judge. If the judge isn't cooperating with you, sometimes they do that. They're not cooperative. Even your own client, just send a message saying, may you be well. May we all be well. This is part of the Reiki practice. Okay. So, the technique, yes, I can give you that. Lay on your hands, be willing to transmit energy, touch, heal. Okay, that's only part of it. So I hope that I've been able to convey to you today, that this is something that we practice for a lifetime. Okay. I remember I attended a talk given at Rollins College, my alma mater here in Florida, that I got my undergrad and my counseling degrees from. The talk was given by Arun Gandhi, who was the son of Mohandas Gandhi, the famous Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nonviolent resistance in India. And Arun Gandhi said, mindfulness is not a strategy. It's not a technique. Mindfulness is a way of life. So is Reiki. And so you probably are wondering at this point, is there any evidence that Reiki actually does anything other than you saying so? Reiki is often discounted because you can't observe it. Think about this. When you flip on your cell phone and connect to the internet, can you see how that connection is being made? All you know is that you're pushing a button and all of a sudden, boom, your Facebook feed, your Twitter feed appears in front of you. Do you know exactly how it happened? No, but there was some form of energy that made it happen. When you flip on a light switch, do you know exactly how that happened? Well, it's electricity. You can't see electricity, but you see the effects. So, that's just a viewpoint for you to consider. Okay. People say that Reiki is meaningless because all it produces is a placebo effect. Okay. What is the placebo effect? The placebo effect is saying something helps me. This thing helps me better than nothing. Okay. When you have double-blind controlled studies of medications, okay, some people are given the medication, some people are given a placebo, which is nothing but a sugar pill. If more people say the pill works than people who say the placebo works, okay, that's what they call evidence-based. In other words, it works better than nothing. Okay, so that's really, really not a hard standard to have to meet. I can tell you that a lot of massage therapists use Reiki to break up stuck energy in the body. That's how I first came to know Reiki, as I said. Nurses use it. Nurses use what's called therapeutic touch in over 800 US hospitals. A form of energy healing called craniosacral therapy has been used on babies. with water on the brain, also known as hydrocephalus, to help the flow of excess fluid from the cranial cavity. There have been double-blind studies conducted that you can find on uclahealth.org. They actually did them on rats in 2006, 2008. Some rats were treated with nothing. Let me back up and say these were very stressed out rats. They probably had stress induced by the researchers. Some were given nothing. Some had Reiki done on them. And it was determined that the rats that had Reiki had reduced stress. Okay. There have been tests on humans between 1993 and 2006. People gave satisfactory to excellent rates for Reiki in controlling pain compared to placebo. So Reiki has been shown to work for pain, anxiety, stress, bringing down the heart rate, bringing down the blood pressure. That's also been my experience with mindfulness meditation, and with hundreds of clients that I have led through self-Reiki and mindfulness meditation, emotional freedom technique, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want more information, I have a handout. All you have to do is email me, or you can connect with me on Facebook and ask me for the handout. I'll be happy to provide it for you. If you're interested in experiencing Reiki over distance, what I would suggest is you can join the Qigong, that's Qigong, Distant Energy Healing page on Facebook. This fellow does a monthly distance healing, and it's an hour. You just sit back and relax and see what happens. Be willing to receive the healing. I can tell you, I've had some really interesting results. So I think it's something. So why don't we open it up to questions? See if anybody has anything that they want to ask.
Yeah, ask away. Let me check the chat box here and see if anybody had any questions. Did anybody have any questions for Sue Ellen? Feel free to jump on camera and just ask away, or you can ask in the chat box. Oh, how do you spell Qigong?
Qigong.
And what was the full name of the group?
Okay. Qigong, Distant Energy Healing.
Energy.
It's on Facebook.
I'll try to find it and drop it into the chat box so that people have it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually looking at the chat box and I don't see anything. Yeah, somebody said definitely reminiscent of the same relaxation I feel with yoga for me about the breathing. Someone else said, had thoughts try to push through, but breath grounded me to peacefulness. Okay. All right. Yeah. So for a lot of people, it's hard to conceptualize something that's not concrete, and so it's understandable that people would maybe not even know what questions to ask. And, lawyers typically are, and I'm this way too. I have a part that is completely about logic. My clients often laugh at me, my therapy clients, because I tend to I tend to phrase questions like cross-examination. Wow, sounds like you're really stressed, right? Yeah.
Well, Sue Ellen, why don't you tell us, how do you incorporate Reiki into your everyday life? Did you incorporate it when you were practicing law, and what moments did you take for yourself to practice? Okay.
I did not do much of anything to help myself as a lawyer. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I tried very hard to fit into the normal paradigm of zealous advocate. I had a lot of people tell me I wouldn't want to go up against you in the courtroom because I was I was pretty tough. I really did not learn a whole lot about self-care until after I left the legal profession. That's why I think it's so important for me to share with people entering the legal profession. So maybe they can um, adapt much more effectively and use these tools for balance. Um, I really did not learn. The only thing that I tried to do as a lawyer was occasionally meditate, but my first exposure to meditation was through a friend who practiced a particular kind of meditation, the result of which was supposed to be to get to the point of having no thoughts. I don't know about you all, but I'm constantly thinking. Okay, I'm never going to get to the point where I have no thoughts. Um, that is okay. And if all you notice when you sit quietly with yourself is that your mind is always going, it's okay to simply say, thinking. Okay, detach from the thinking, focus on something else, the breathing. Say there is thinking, there is breathing, there is energy. Okay, so to answer your question, there was not much I did as a lawyer. That's why it's important for me to share with people who are lawyers and who are going to be lawyers.
Then what are your tips for people who are going to be lawyers, for people who are just about to start law school or thinking about starting law school in the future? How can they incorporate this practice into their lives?
Absolutely. I think one of the important things is to consider, and just to go back to one of the precepts of Reiki, to consider personal development. What is my meaning and purpose? What is my aim in law practice? We're talking about balance, and so what is it that you want from law practice? Do you want an external reward? Do you want money, power, prestige? Do you want satisfaction of working towards social causes, social justice, helping people who are not in a position of helping themselves? What is it that you want? And just trying to balance out, just to see whether what you want is compatible with what you want to be. I would also recommend making it a practice right now, when you are getting ready to go to law school or considering law school, or even if you decide not to set aside, to start 15 minutes of your day just to be quiet and sit with yourself, notice what's going on, and just see if you can get in alignment, however that works for you. Look into these various disciplines, look into energy healing. If good ways to do that, you can go to YouTube. You can look at Donna Eden, Eden. She's a massage therapist turned energy medicine practitioner who has essentially been able to manage her own chronic fatigue syndrome. She has some wonderful 5-minute, 10-minute energy routines that you can do, that you can help balance your own energy. And YouTube is fantastic. Just look up energy healing on YouTube. It's just amazing what is available to us now in this digital age. So setting aside a practice time, examining your life purpose. Look up Professor Larry Krieger, Krieger. He's at FSU Law. He's one of the first researchers on attorney and law student wellness. look at what he has to say about finding balance in law practice. And I would also recommend, there are great people to connect with here on Facebook. Angie's one of them. I don't remember how I connected with you, Angie, but I'm so glad I did.
I think you found me on LinkedIn. I'm more on LinkedIn than on Facebook. But.
You're just doing, I mean, this is just wonderful what you're doing. There are other lawyers to connect with on LinkedIn, I think, that are really great. One is Dan Defoe, Defoe. He is a lawyer turned counselor. He writes a blog called Psychology. And there's Allison Luftig, Luftig, who is doing a lot within the legal profession to promote mental health. There's Robert Levant. Angie, I hope you don't mind. I'm talking about these other people.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Actually, if you want to just send me a list of all of them when we send out the recording of
I'll be happy to.
And we can just, send the links to everybody at that time so that they can easily connect.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And if you want to read more about just mindfulness in general, mindfulness is just simply the art of paying attention with complete acceptance to the here and now. And, I think an orientation to the here and now is really, really important. And it will help you with balance as a law student and a lawyer, because so much of the time we get focused on what ifs, or what ifs in the future, what if I flunk this exam? I was not a stellar law student. But I also wasn't helping myself very much. But one of the things that doesn't help is worry, and so that's why having some kind of an energy medicine or mindfulness practice is so important as a law student. So
yeah, I think one of the things they taught us in law school is that a lot of your law school experience is just going to be uncomfortable, and even being a lawyer, a lot of it is just uncomfortable. Yes. And you have to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you have to just learn how to, realize, oh, okay, my body's feeling this discomfort. I'm stressed,
Right.
Understand those things about yourself, and then understand how do you lessen those, that nervous energy in yourself. It took me a long time to realize that. I think when I was in law school, especially because I feel like law school kind of just exacerbates anxiety, and it teaches you that you should always be at a level of anxiousness, that you should be competitive, that you should be doing
that it's good,
that it amps you up, and you have to realize that you can't function at that level of being amped up and anxious all the time. You just can't. You'll drive yourself insane. So at some point you realize, okay, there has to be a method to all this madness. There has to be a reason why I feel this way. And, if you can start learning about these things now and understand how your energy works, what makes you anxious, how to calm yourself down, you'll be a better master of yourself. And that will ultimately help you be more productive.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's, what you're talking about is self-knowledge. And, I think we get that through having just a daily mindfulness practice, go within, look at your thoughts. Okay. What am I thinking? And try not to judge it, just ask whether it's helpful or not helpful. Right. That's the question I ask. Is it helpful or not helpful? If it's not helpful, how can I go in a different direction? And gently move yourself in another direction. Don't say no or shut it out, because that's creating violence inside your head. You don't want to do that. You just want to look at, okay, what direction do I want to go in? Okay, let's go in this direction, so just kindness. I think it's really about kindness toward yourself, which also allows you to project kindness out there into the world.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much today, Sue Ellen, for everything that you've shared with us. I really appreciate you spending your time with us. And I'll be posting the recording of this on YouTube. So we'll send out an email afterwards whenever it's posted. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. And we have another meetup on Thursday. And this one's going to be more back towards the substance of law. We're going to be talking about the practice of corporate law. And if you're interested in the large, giant umbrella of corporate law, what are all the subsets that fall underneath it, and how do you get experience in those areas? We also have our Friday virtual happy hour this week. So if you want to come and meet other professionals, we break you out in breakout rooms and you actually get to interact with each other. It's really fun. So come join us on Friday at 4 p.m. Central.